Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. So this morning we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Narada Teachings to Vasudev, Text 2. Shri Chamasa Uvacha Mukha Bahurupadebhya Purushasya Shramai Saha Chatvaro Jagnire Varna Gunair Vipradhaya Pratak. Shri Chamasa Uvacha Mukha Bahurupadebhya Purushasya Shramai Saha Chatvaro Jagnire Varna Gunair Vipradhaya Pratak. Shri Chamasa Uvacha Mukha Bahurupadebhya Purushasya Shramai Saha Chatvaro Jagnire Varna Gunair Vipradhaya Pratak. Matajis. Word to word meaning. Shri Chamasa Uvacha. Shri Chamasa said, Mukha, face, Bahu, arms, Uru, thighs, Padebhya, from the feet, Purushasya, of the Supreme Lord, Ashramai, the four spiritual orders, Saha, with, Chatvara, four, Jagnire, were born, Varna, the social orders, Gunai, by the modes of nature. Vipra Adhaya, headed by the Brahmanas. Prutak, various. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chamasa said, each of the four social orders headed by the Brahmanas was born through different combinations of the modes of nature from the face, arms, thighs and feet of the Supreme Lord in His universal form. Thus the four spiritual orders were also generated. Purport. Those who are not spontaneously attracted to the devotional service of the Lord can be gradually purified by observing the Varnashram system of four social orders and four spiritual orders. According to Sridhar Swami, the Brahmanas are born of the mode of goodness, the Kshatriyas of a combination of goodness and passion, the Vaishyas of a combination of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras of the mode of ignorance. Just as the four social orders are born from the face, arms, thighs and feet of the Lord's universal form, similarly the Brahmacharis are generated from the heart of the Lord, the householder order from his loins, the Vanaprasthas from his chest, and the Sannyas order from his head. A similar verse is found in the Rik Samhita 8.4.19 as well as the Shukla Yajur Veda 34.11 and the Atharva Veda 1966. Brahmanosya mukham masid bahu rajanya kritaha uru tadasya yadvaishya padbhyam shudro jayata. The Brahmanas appeared as his face, the king as his arms, the Vaishya as his thighs, and the Shudra was born from his feet. It is understood that pure devotional service to the Lord has already been described by two of the Yogendras, Drumila and Avihotra. Chamasa Muni now describes the system of Varnashram Dharma because this system is meant to gradually purify those who are inimical to the Supreme Lord, bringing them back to their constitutional position of love of Godhead. Similarly, the Virat Roop or the universal form of the Lord is an imaginary form meant to help the gross materialists gradually understand the position of the personality of Godhead. Since the foolish materialist cannot understand anything beyond matter, he is encouraged to see the entire universe as a personal form of the Supreme Lord's body. The impersonal conception of formlessness is a mere negation of temporary material variety without any concept of the Lord's spiritual potency. The impersonal view is another kind of material speculative conception. The Supreme Lord is full of spiritual potencies under the principal headings Ladhni or unlimited bliss, Sandhini or eternal existence, and Samvit or omniscience. It is understood from this verse that the Varnashram Dharma system generated from the universal form of the Lord is a program offered by the Lord to engage the conditioned souls in a complete social and religious system that gradually brings them back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Seeking the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, especially His Grace Devkinandan Prabhu and all the senior Vaishnavas present here, to discuss on this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the previous verse, King Nemi asked the Navyogendras that what will be the destination of those who for the most part never worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who are unable to quench their material desires and who are not in control of their own selves. So that was the question which Maharaj Nimi asked the Navyogendras. And in this verse, Sri Chamasa, one of the Navyogendras, is beginning to reply. And he is speaking about how those who are not interested in devotional service can gradually make progress towards purification and ultimately achieve bhakti yoga and ultimately go back home, back to Godhead by a gradual system of elevation and purification. And that is what he is describing over here. These two verses, the second and the third verse, both these verses have been quoted many times in various scriptures. They have been quoted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami in the 22nd chapter of the Madhya Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. They have also been quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and they have been also quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha. And so therefore these two verses have been quoted many times by our acharyas. And so therefore they are important verses which beautifully describe how ultimately everyone and everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. And here it is being described that how the four varnas and the four ashramas are coming from the Virat Roop of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So ultimately everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, because everyone, all varnas, all ashramas, that includes everyone and everything and everyone is coming from the Supreme Lord, and therefore it becomes our duty, our goal to worship the Supreme Lord. And specifically in this verse, he is speaking about the four varnas which are coming from the different parts of the universal form of the Lord. So the Brahmanas, they come from the face, the Kshatriyas from the arms, the Vaishyas from the thighs, the Shudras from the feet of the Virat Roop of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we will have a brief discussion on the Varnashram system without getting into too many controversies. So the Varnashram system definitely plays a very important and vital role in the general human society as well as in the society of devotees. The well-known famous verse which Lord Krishna speaks in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, 13th verse, Chatur Vanyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha Tasya Kartaram Apiman Vidhi Akartaram Avyayam. So Krishna says, all these four varnas I have created. Maya Shrishtam. I have created four varnas and four ashramas. But I have nothing to do with it. I am not bound by any of these four varnas or four ashramas, because the varnashram system is based on the three modes, the three gunas. Brahmanas are especially in the mode of goodness, the Kshatriyas in the mode of passion, the Vaishyas in the mode of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras in the mode of ignorance. So the entire varnashram system is basically based on the three modes. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Gunatit. He is transcendent to the modes. And so therefore, even though he may appear as a Kshatriya, he may appear as a Vaishya, but still the Lord has nothing to do with these three modes and the four varnas or the ashramas. He is totally transcendental to all of this. But it is the Supreme Lord's mercy on the conditioned souls that he has created this varnashram system. How is that the Supreme Lord's mercy? That is what we'll discuss. So in today's discussion, we'll essentially try to discuss 3 points. The first point is why the Lord has created the varnashram system. What is the purpose of the varnashram system? The second point is what is the goal? What is the prayojan of the varnashram system? And the third point we'll try to discuss is the practical application of this varnashram system in the modern society as well as in the society of devotees. So, as Krishna says that the varnashram system is based on guna, karma. So, guna means qualities, karma means activities. So, Srila Prabhupada in his lectures he says, sometimes in India we find person has 2 paisa thread and is pulling thela. So how is he Brahmana? So there has to be guna as well as karma. Then only he can be called Brahmana. So Srila Prabhupada told the story of Satyakam. I'm sure most of us know the story. So he wanted to take shelter of Gautam Rishi. He wanted to be initiated by him. So he went to Gautam Rishi, because in those days, Vedic Varnashram system, somebody was qualified to study the Vedas only if he is born in a Brahmana family. So Gautam Rishi asked him, so which family are you born? Who's your father and mother? Boy said, I do not know, I'll find out from my mother. So he went to the mother and asked her, who's my father? Which family? So mother frankly said, I do not know. I had association with many men. So I do not know who's your father. So the boy came and reported as it is without any embarrassment. He told Gautam Rishi, I do not know who my father is. That's what my mother says. It's quite embarrassing to say that, isn't it? Indicates somebody who is born in a very low family. But he told the truth. He had no embarrassment to tell the truth. So therefore Gautam Rishi said, because you are speaking the truth, you have the quality of truthfulness, therefore you are Brahmana. And Prabhupada writes in his purports and speaks in his lecture, the first quality of a Brahmana, most important quality of Brahmana is truthfulness. Satyam, very important quality. The last leg of dharma that is still remaining, but that is also tottering, about to collapse. But still there are some truthful people in this world. We had one experience during book distribution. So nowadays people pay online. So one man, he had taken one Bhagavad-gita. So he came back the next day and he said, I forgot whether I paid or not. Quite amazing, isn't it? Very rare to see someone like that. But he came. He said, I forgot whether I paid or not. What should I do? So we told him, see, it is up to you what you want to do. But we very much are dependent on donations for our service. So it's up to you. So the man paid again. So the Shastra is right. Some truthfulness is still remaining in society. Also, another quality of Brahmana that is explained in the Shastra is he has very good memory. Because he follows the principles of Shastra and he is pure, so therefore he has very good memory. And Srila Prabhupada tells one story to illustrate this. So once two people were fighting on the bank of a river, and one man, he spoke all abusive language to the other person. So the other person was very much insulted, offended. So he went to the king and complained that this man, shameless fellow, he spoke all these harsh words, blasphemous words, punish him. Acha. The king said, what is your proof? Who's the witness? Witness should be there, no? In order to accuse someone. So the man said, I don't have any direct witness, but this conversation took place on the bank of a river. And in the river, a Brahmana was taking bath. So he is the only witness. So you can find out. So the king had the Brahmana called. And the king asked the Brahmana, did you hear these two people fighting? The Brahmana said, yes. Do you know what that other person said? The Brahmana, as it is, verbatim, repeated exactly all the abusive words what the other person said. Even though he was taking bath, he was not consciously listening. These days, whenever there is fight, people take pleasure in hearing what they are saying. But the Brahmana had nothing to do with the fight. But he was unconsciously hearing. But still he was able to repeat verbatim whatever the man said. Prabhupada says, this is Brahmana. These are Brahmanical qualities. Guna, karma, vibhagasha. Okay. So in the Bhagavad-gita also, Krishna speaks about the various qualities of the Brahmana, Shama, Dhamma, Tapa, Shaucham and all those. And similarly, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Narad Muni in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam to Yudhishthira Maharaj speaks so many different qualities, big list of qualities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Similarly, duties are Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanapras, Sannyas. So, Guna, Karma have to be there. Right? So, okay. So, now, why Krishna has given us this Varnashram system? Because material world means three modes. Everyone is infected by three modes. Correct? So now, if one is infected by three modes are entangling. They're going to entangle a person in the material world. So now how to get out? Because the purpose of material existence is that the conditioned souls get out of material existence, not remain in material existence. But they are bound by three modes. Devyesha gunamai, mammaya, duratyaya. Everyone is tightly bound by three modes. So how to get out? So therefore, the analogy is given, kantaka kantakaineva. Remove a thorn with another thorn. I don't know how many of us in cities have this experience, because there are no thorns itself. Okay, those who have rural background may have experience, but in Mumbai there are no thorns, right? So in any case, but the Siddhanta is given in the Shastra. So here in this analogy, one thorn is three modes, correct? That is the troubling thorn, the thorn which troubles, three modes. So now, what to do? Use the three modes themselves to bring one out. That is the other thorn. So that is what is called as Varnashram system. On the basis of the three modes, because of the three modes, everyone has different psychophysical nature. Everyone has different swabhav. And so therefore, everyone is accustomed to performing certain activities. So therefore, Krishna says, no problem. You are influenced by three modes. You have this psychophysical nature. Use that psychophysical nature for spiritual progress. That is the Varnashram system Krishna has given. So therefore, Krishna has given the Varnashram system by which people can use the influence of the three modes to get out of the influence of three modes. Therefore, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, Sannyasis, all of them have been given some duties. So if one performs these duties according to Shastra, then one will get out of the influence of three modes. Okay? And this is the way Krishna controls all the human beings of this world. So we were discussing Ajamil Upakyan. So there, 6th canto, 3rd chapter, 13th verse. Yamaraj is telling the Yamadutas the glories of the Supreme Lord. And he says, he gives analogy. So just like, again, those who have been in villages will better appreciate. So just like the bullock cart driver, he controls the bull. How? Through the rope passing through the nose. This is a very famous analogy given at many places. Even Lord Brahma gives to Priyavrat Maharaj the same analogy. So when the farmer, he pulls the rope. So then what happens? The bull feels pain. Correct? You've seen Talasri? So the bull feels pain. And so therefore, he is totally controlled by the farmer. Similarly, the Lord exerts His control over all living entities and all human beings through the Varnashram system, through the rules and regulations of the Varnashram system. He controls everyone. So those who follow, they will be elevated, they will be purified. Those who don't follow, they will be punished by Yamaraj. This is how Krishna exerts his control. And this is Krishna's plan to purify the jivas of this material world. And so therefore, in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna speaks in the 18th chapter, how the purification takes place. So the purification takes place by not only just performing Varnashram duties. If one simply performs Varnashram duties, that is useless. In the next verse, Chamas Rishi is saying, I'm just reading the translation, if any of the members of the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the personality of Godhead, who is the source of their own creation, they will fall down from their position into a hellish state of life. So if people only perform Varnashram duties without worshipping the Supreme Lord or without any connection to the Supreme Lord directly or indirectly, that is called as Asuri Varnashram, and people will simply fall into hell. This has also been confirmed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So therefore, only performing Varnashram duties is useless. So in this, in the Bhagavad-gita, therefore, the Lord describes that what one must do is offer the fruits of one's duties to the Supreme. Therefore he says, Yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tadat swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindanti manava. Swakarmana, according to one's position in Varnashram, one should offer the fruits to tam. He is referring to the super soul or Vishnu. So one should offer the fruits, then the result will be siddhim. Then one will achieve perfection. So, and before that he says, Sve sve karmani abhirata samsiddhim lavate naraha swa karma nirata siddhim yatha vindanti tashrino. So, sve sve karmani, one can perform one's own karma, but offer the fruits to the Supreme. So, they can either follow the indirect process of the yoga ladder, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and then come to bhakti yoga. That is indirect process. Or they can follow the direct process of directly offering the fruits to the Supreme. So when they follow the direct process, that is called as Daiva Varnashram, where they offer the fruits directly to the Supreme. If they go by the indirect process of gradual elevation, that is the traditional Vedic Varnashram system. So, this is how a person gets purified. And then, in the 40th verse of the 18th chapter, Krishna says, Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet sarvaramba hi doshena dhumenagnir ivavritaha. So he says that in every duty, in every varna, there is some fault. Just like smoke always covers fire. So Srila Prabhupada explains, every varna has some fault. How? Brahmanas have some fault, they have to sacrifice animals. Kshatriyas have a fault, they have to punish people, kill people. Vaishyas have a fault, what is that? They have to tell some lies in business. Without lies, who does business? Nobody does business. And the Shudras, what is their fault? They may have to serve an unworthy master. So every varna has some fault. So therefore, to purify the faults of the varna, of the occupational duty, the fruits of that duty has to be offered to the Supreme. And this is the way one will gradually get purified, and in this way when one gets purified, then gradually one can come to the platform of pure devotional service. And this is Krishna's system for the purification of the living entities, especially human beings, who are entangled by the three modes. In the first canto, 5th chapter, verses 32, 33, 34, those verses, Narad Muni is explained to Vyasadeva. He is giving another analogy. This analogy is also given by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad-gita, 4th chapter, 24th verse purport. And he gives the analogy of a person who has bowel disorder because of drinking too much milk or milk products. So I'm sure we have experienced, if we eat too much rabadi, anybody has experienced eating, drinking 1 liter of rabadi at a time? So if one eats too much rabadi, what happens? You know what happens the next day, or maybe on the same day also. So now, what is the treatment for that stomach disorder due to drinking too much milk? What is the treatment? Another transformation of milk, dahi, with some black pepper and salt. That is the treatment. This is authorized treatment. So Narad Muni and the Acharyas have given this treatment. So similarly, karma in this world is binding. But that same karma, when done for the pleasure of the Supreme, when the fruits are offered to the Supreme, that same karma becomes the cause of liberation. This is the analogy. So this is the principle of the Varnashram system. And that is the reason why Krishna has given the Varnashram system, so that we can perform the duties given by the Supreme Lord, given by the Acharyas, and thus we can become free from the influence of three modes. Clear? This is our first point. Why Krishna has created Varnashram system. Okay. Now we go to the second point. The second point is, what is the goal? What is the ultimate goal of the Varnashram system? So now, this is described by Sutta Goswami First canto, second chapter, 13th verse, well-known famous verse. Ata pumbi dvija shreshta varnashrama vibhagasha smanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. So the goal of all the varnas and ashramas is ultimately what? To please the Supreme Lord Hari. That is the ultimate goal. Directly or indirectly. But if we talk of Deva Varnashram, then it is directly pleasing the Supreme Lord Krishna, Hari. That is Deva Varnashram. Okay. So similarly, we also have the other verse. Dharma svanushtata pumsa vishvaksena katasuya na utpadyed yadiratem shrama eva hi kevalam. So dharma svanushtata pumsa, if the human beings perform their swadharma according to varnashrama, but by performance of swadharma, if the rati, attraction for the Supreme Lord, ultimately reaching Krishna Prem, if that does not take place, one is only performing varnashram duties, then it is all what? Shrama eva hi kevalam, useless endeavor. So, all of us as devotees also, because we are still in the material world, on the material platform. Correct? I don't know, some are on the liberated platform, I don't know. But as long as we are in the conditioned state on the material platform, then it is understood that we are influenced by three modes. So, if we are influenced by three modes, then we have to perform our duties according to varnashram. And that division is very natural. So even within the society of devotees, we find some are Brahmanical, some are like Kshatriyas, some are like Vaishyas, some are like Shudras. This is very natural in any society. Prabhupada says, we'll come to that purport, he says that the communists are trying to establish classless society. But still they have two classes, managers and workers. So where is classless? Not possible. Classes have to be there because these are Krishna's words. Four classes are bound to be there anywhere. Can't avoid. So, even in the society of devotees, the four classes will be there. But we have to perform those duties for the pleasure of the Supreme. And in this way, increase our attraction to the Supreme. And therefore, we find that Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he mentions, so he's speaking on sadhana bhakti. And when he's speaking about sadhana bhakti, he says that in the Deva Varnashram, ultimately all four varnas, four ashramas, they are supposed to come to the point of Vedi sadhana. That is the goal. So then, what is the goal of Vedi sadhana? So for that, he quotes the well-known verse from the Padma Puran. What is that? Smartavya satatam vishnur vismartavya najatu chet sarve vidhi nishedasyor etayor eva kinkaraha. Because that's Vedi Bhakti. Vedi Bhakti means what? Rules and regulations, vidhi and nished. But what is the goal of all the vidhi and nished? To always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is the goal. The goal is not simply following rules and regulations for the sake of following. Then it becomes what? Niyama agraha. That is not the purpose. The purpose of all the rules and regulations within the Varnashram system, within Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, is to always remember Krishna and never forget. So just like recently we had Nirjala Ekadashi, correct? And we saw a big crowd of people came. Devakinandan Prabhu was saying it was like Janmashtami. So many people came. So why? Because it's Ekadashi, very good. But the purpose of Ekadashi is not only to fast. So if somebody says today is Nirjal, I will not drink one drop of water and sleep throughout the day. Ekadashi is successful, correct? Successful. Acharya say, no, this is not success of Ekadashi. What is the success? If one is able to remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, that is the success of the Ekadashi. So that applies to every rule and regulation that one follows. So just like from morning we are following rules and regulations, right? So coming for Mangalarti. So what's the purpose of Mangalarti? To stand in the Mangalarti. That anybody can stand. You can bring one animal also, he'll also stand. So the purpose is not simply to mark that attendance there. You have the system, no? Attendance. So his purpose to mark there. So the purpose is so that we please Radha-Rasbihari and please Srila Prabhupada, who wanted us to come in Mangalarti and take part in the Mangalarti. That is the purpose. So the purpose of all rules and regulations is to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That is the purpose. So, Srila Prabhupada writes that all the people of all the varnas and ashramas, this is what they're supposed to follow. Okay? So the purpose of all the varnas and all the ashramas, the rules and regulations is to achieve this purpose of always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada writes here in the Nectar of Devotion, so Rupa Goswami is quoting exactly the same verse, what we are reading now. This regulative principle of always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna is applicable to all varnas and ashramas, the castes and occupations of life. If this injunction is followed, then all other rules and regulations will automatically fall in line. All other rules and regulations should be treated as assistants or servants to this one basic principle. The injunctions of rules and regulations and the resultant reactions are mentioned in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verses 2 and 3. This is what we are reading. So the same verses have been quoted by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And then Srila Prabhupada is explaining about all the Brahmanas, duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Srila Prabhupada is making one interesting point about Brahmanas. We're all trying to become Brahmanas, right? So, Srila Prabhupada writes, according to Vedic injunctions, when a Brahmana eats, it is to be understood that personality of Godhead is eating through them. It is not, however, that the Brahmana should simply eat on behalf of the Lord and not preach the message of Bhagavad-gita to the world. Actually, one who preaches the message of the Gita is very dear to Krishna, as is confirmed in the Gita itself. Such a preacher is factually a Brahmana. Such a preacher is factually a Brahmana. And by feeding him, one feeds the Supreme Lord directly. Okay? So, this is our goal of the Varnashram system. What? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And in this way, if one continues, then one can please the Supreme Lord and ultimately one can come to the platform of Krishna Prem, which is the ultimate goal, Pancham Purushartha. So this is the purpose. Now commenting on this verse, I would just like to read Srila Prabhupada's commentary to this verse of Smartavya Satam Vishnu from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. So this is Madhya Leela, chapter 22, text 113. If you can show it, well and good. Because this is a very important purport for all ISKCON devotees. Madhya Leela, chapter 22, text 113. So there also, Mahaprabhu is teaching the same thing to Sanatana Goswami. And you can see, you go to text 111. Okay, it's going to take time. So, text 111 is the same verse of the Bhagavatam. This 11th canto, chapter 5, text 2. This is the same verse which Mahaprabhu is teaching to Sanatan Goswami. Same thing. So all the acharyas speak the same thing. There is no controversy. So same verses. The second and third verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting. And then text 113, he quotes Smartavya Satam Vishnu Vismartavya na Jatuchit. Okay. Now I will read the purport. This verse is a quotation from the Padma Purana. There are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles, aage jao. Yes. Go to the purport. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle. That is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. This is possible when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra. So this always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna is possible. How? By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, one must strictly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours daily. One may have other duties to perform under the direction of spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have recommended that neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary. What? Absolutely necessary. If one wants to remember Krishna and not forget him. Of all the regulative principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. Okay? Please note Prabhupada's words. For everyone within the Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada is giving this instruction. Amongst all the instructions, which is most important? To chant at least 16 rounds attentively. This is the most important instruction. Only then one will be able to remember Krishna, not forget Krishna, then the purification will take place, then Krishna Prem will come. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. Okay? So, and then further Prabhupada says, one may go out to enlist life members or distribute books, but while doing these services also, one should remember Krishna. So for that, therefore, the first thing in the morning is to attentively chant at least 16 rounds. This is the prayojan, the goal of all the varnas and ashramas. Clear so far? So this is our second point. So now we go to the third point. Okay? So third point is the practical application of this varnashram. So there are two aspects of it. One is in the outside world, the materialistic society, and second part is the society of devotees. Okay? So now we'll go to the first part. The first part is in the material society. Many quotes, there are many purports, lectures, but there is one purport which is quite striking and which gives a fairly good understanding of what Srila Prabhupada wanted when he said that he wants to establish Varnashram. So it will be nice if you can open this purport. This is 5th canto, 19th chapter, 19th verse. Got it? Okay, in any case, I'm going to begin reading. So this is a praise which the Devatas are offering. And they are glorifying all of us. You know all of us? They are glorifying all of us. People born in Bharatvarsh, they are glorifying. Devatas are glorifying. Just think how fortunate we are. So, they are saying, the people who take birth in this tract of land are divided according to the qualities of material nature, modes of goodness, passion and ignorance. Some of them are born as exalted personalities. Some are ordinary human beings and some are extremely abominable. For in Bharatvarsha, one takes birth exactly according to one's past karma. If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master, this is an important point. If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master, and one is properly trained to engage in the service of Lord Vishnu according to the 4 social divisions and 4 spiritual divisions, one's life becomes perfect. Okay? So, anyways, we'll go to the purports. So, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Bhagavad-gita. We just read verses of Bhagavad-gita, same verses Prabhupada is quoting. And he's also quoting Srila Ramnacharya. He writes in his book, Vedanta Sangraha. So, there's a long quote over there. And then, which seem to be quite similar to the Bhagavad-gita verses, he's also quoting the Bhagavad-gita verses there. Swakarma nirata siddhim yata vindanti tashrino yata pravritir bhutanam. So all that is there. Then he's quoting from the Vishnu Puran, Varnashrama charvata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradyate panta nanyata tosha karanam. The Supreme Personality of God, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Lord. In the land of Bharatvarsha, the institution of Varnashram Dharma may be easily adopted. At the present moment, certain demoniac sections of the population of Bharatvarsha are disregarding the system of Varnashram Dharma. And because this system is not followed, demons want a classless society. This is resulting in chaotic conditions. Okay. Further down, Prabhupada says, the real aim of life is liberation, but unfortunately, the opportunity for liberation is being denied to people in general, and therefore their human lives are being spoiled. The Krishna consciousness movement, the last sentence of the purport. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is being propagated all over the world to re-establish the Varnashram Dharma system and thus save human society from gliding down to hellish life. But here Srila Prabhupada is giving some hints how to re-establish the Varnashram system and society. The basic point is Vishnur Aradyate Pantha. So the Varnashram system can only be established, especially talk about Deva Varnashram, where people worship Vishnu. So first of all, people have to be taught and trained how to worship Vishnu. Then we can talk about Varnashram. Correct? So first of all, then only Deva Varnashram can be established. That is what Srila Prabhupada wanted. So therefore, first of all, we have to teach people about devotional service or somehow connect them to devotional service. Directly or indirectly. Therefore, in the Bhagavad-gita also, chapter 12, verses 8 to 12, that entire section, Lord Krishna is saying how even though one may not be on the topmost platform of devotional service, indirectly, by offering the results of work, by doing some work for Krishna, somehow one can be encouraged to practice devotional service. And same thing is being told here also. So therefore, we cannot, in Prabhupada's lectures also speaks, we cannot directly go back to the Vedic system. Very difficult. Prabhupada says impossible. Because everyone is Shudra now. Kalo Shudra Sambhava. We cannot have ideal Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas. Very difficult. So Prabhupada says, so-called Kshatriyas these days are sitting in AC chambers and passing orders. What type of Kshatriyas? Very difficult. So therefore, what is most important is somehow connect people to devotional service. And slowly, people will become Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. But the most important thing is Vishnur Aradhyate Panta. That's why Prabhupada is first quoting this verse. And that is how we can gradually establish Varnashram in the society, in the modern society. Otherwise, it is not possible. Artificially, it is not going to be possible. First of all, people have to be connected to devotional service. And that is what most of our city temples are doing. Okay, now let's go to the other part. The other part is for devotees. So amongst devotees, we can first talk about the temple residents, brahmacharis. So for them, Varnashram is what? Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanto Gurohritam. That is Varnashram. All one's duties in the ashram are according to Guru's instructions. Finished. The subject matter ends over there. Whatever Guru tells, one is supposed to do. And of course, the Guru and the spiritual authorities, they can engage the devotees according to their propensities, because everyone has different propensities. As far as possible, that can be done. Then they can be properly situated and encouraged to perform their devotional service. But All services may not be according to one's likings and dislikings. Sometimes some service may not be according to one's likings. Still one is supposed to surrender if that is instruction of Guru. And all services are supposed to be appreciated. Prabhupada says Vaishnav is not on the bodily platform. So we cannot say Brahman Vaishnav, Shudra Vaishnav. No, Vaishnav is Vaishnav, just like gold is gold. So therefore Prabhupada says, Pujari on the altar and devotee cleaning the floor. Same platform, absolutes. All services are absolute, according to different propensities, different engagements. So therefore, ultimately our goal is Gopir Bartur Padakamalyor, Das, 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 Anudas. So especially for those who are full-time devotees, that is the principle. We are simply Das, Das, Anudas. That's how we are going to get perfection. If we talk about householders, grihasthas, then they may have to, if they have very sattvic, Vedic occupations, that's very good, Brahmanical or any other occupation according to the propensities, they can do. But in any case, they have to offer the fruits as well as perform direct devotional activities. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his conversation with Ramananda Rai. Initially when Ramananda Rai speaks about Varnashram, simple Varnashram, then Mahaprabhu says, Eho bhaiya aage ka yaar. But then, when Ramananda Rai spoke this verse from Brahmaji's prayers, 10th canto, 14th chapter, 4th verse. Sthane sita shuddhikadam tanuman manobhi jivanti san mukhiridham bhavadiya vartam sthane sita shuddhikadam tanuman manobhi ye prayaso ajita jito apitestir lokyam. When he spoke this verse, then Mahaprabhu said, Eho hoi age kahya. This he agreed. Why? Sthane sthita shrudigatam. Okay, remain in your varnashram duties, whatever propensities you have, you act accordingly. And Srila Prabhupada in his lectures on that verse, explaining that verse, he extends that to say, remain in whatever position you are. If you're engineer, remain engineer. If you're doctor, remain doctor. If you're lawyer, remain lawyer. Whatever you're doing, you remain. But Sat Mukaritham, hear from the devotees. Sat. And at the same time, Tanuvan Manobi. Engage body, mind, words, everything in Krishna's service. This Mahaprabhu appreciated. And therefore, this is the practical application for householders. Okay, remain in whatever position. Very difficult to change these days. If you tell all people go to farm, they are so much conditioned to staying in city. So what they will do? Next day you tell them, you plow the field. They have never seen plow in their life. What they will do? They will put it upside down. So, not possible. So therefore, Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, very merciful. They say, doesn't matter. Do whatever you're doing, but engage in pure devotional activities. In this way, you purify yourself. And Srila Prabhupada is so merciful that in one purport in the Bhagavad-gita, if you want, you can show Bhagavad-gita 18th chapter, 8th verse purport. Srila Prabhupada goes to the extent to say, does not matter even if you're working in factory. You read this purport? So he says, this is ninth verse. In the ninth verse purport, which is the verse is describing about activities in Sattva-gun. So Prabhupada writes, one should act without attachment for the results. Okay, he can perform the work, but without attachment for the results. He should be disassociated from the modes of work. A man working in Krishna consciousness in a factory does not associate himself with the work of the factory nor with the workers of the factory. He simply works for Krishna. And when he gives up the result for Krishna, he is acting transcendentally. So Srila Prabhupada knew in future people will work in factories. Devotees will work in factories. So therefore Srila Prabhupada says, it doesn't matter, but you be detached from the workers, give the fruits to Krishna and work for Krishna. Then it is transcendental. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he has allowed all this. Because in Kali Yuga, what to do? Of course, to come to this platform is quite difficult, but this is our goal. So if somebody is working, no problem, but one can try to come to this goal. And so in the next purport, the 11th verse purport, Prabhupada writes, therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive results, who offers everything to Krishna is actually a renouncer. There are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in the factory or some other place, and whatever they earn, they give to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in the renounced order of life. So that means even while working in office and factory, one can be sannyasi. So this is varnashram for grihasthas. Not so easy, of course. But this is Srila Prabhupada's standard and his compassion for all Kali Yuga Vasis who may work in so many different factories and offices. And of course, even during Srila Prabhupada's times, we find that to maintain temples, Srila Prabhupada had some of his disciples working. Jayanand Prabhu was driving the taxi, and also Brahmanand Prabhu, he was doing some work. Even Gurudas Prabhu was doing some work. So for some time they were doing work. So Prabhuji is saying they were typing and Satsvarup Maharaj was typing. So he had Gopal Krishna Maharaj was working in Coca-Cola company. But 100% for Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is glorifying Jayanand Prabhu in the preface to Nectar of Devotion, thanking Jayanand Prabhu Brahmachari, Jayanand Das Brahmachari for giving big donation for printing of this Nectar of Devotion. And we have Tamal Krishna Maharaj. We know the moon China pastime. So Srila Prabhupada said, go to China. So I don't know how many of you know how Tamal Krishna Maharaj went to China. This Rameshwar Prabhu tells. So he tells that there was one Drishtadyumna Swami whose father was selling liquor. And so this man was selling liquor in China. And so Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he requested Drishtadyumna Maharaj to tell his father to help them get visas to go to China. As what? Liquor sellers. So which varnashram duty is this? But only for Krishna. So this was, so that is how ultimately, therefore the principle is, if the spiritual master sanctions, then that duty immediately comes to the transcendental platform. And therefore, Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he quotes the same 11th canto, 3rd chapter, text 22. He quotes this verse where we are not going to the details, but there he is mentioning that how the disciple accepts the orders of the spiritual master as life and soul. He quotes this verse to explain the Swarup Siddha Bhakti. So we are not going into all the details, but Swarup Siddha Bhakti is the topmost type of bhakti. So in order to explain that, he is quoting this verse. So if someone is following the instructions of the spiritual master, then that is the highest form of bhakti. Okay? So therefore, if whatever duties one is performing, that is ultimately sanctioned by the spiritual master, and the spiritual master is pleased with those activities, then that is actually pure devotional service. So in this way, whether one is brahmachari, grihastha, whatever, one can perform one's varnashram duties for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, and in this way, one can achieve the highest perfection of going back home, back to Godheads. As in the last sentence of this purport they say, it is understood from this verse that the Varnashram Dharma system generated from the universal form of the Lord is a program offered by the Lord to engage the conditioned souls in a complete social and religious system that gradually brings them back home, back to Godheads. So we discussed 3 points in today's discussion. The first is why the Varnashram system has been started by the Supreme Lord, what is the purpose. Second point we discussed is what is the goal, the prayojan of the Varnashram system, which is ultimately to develop love for God. So one must, while performing Varnashram duties, even as devotees, one should see that one's attraction for the Supreme Lord is increasing. And the best way to remember the Supreme Lord is the chanting of the holy names attentively, okay, on beads, without mobile in one hand, okay. And the last part is how the Varnashram system can be applied in modern day life within our temples. And of course, the farm communities are always there. The farm communities are more favorable to practicing this. Those who can stay there can definitely go to Talasri and practice Varnashram very nicely over there. But the goal still remains the same. And that is, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and develop love of God. Goal still remains the same. So wherever one is comfortable, one can practice the Varnashram system and achieve the goal of life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we kindly request Devakinandan Prabhu to enlighten us. So we spoke something, I don't know what.
Varnashram is very good for fundraising. See, when you talk about Varnashram to some business people, you tell them that head is Brahmana, Ramrup sun lo, hand is Kshatriya, stomach is Vaishya, and leg is Sudra.
Shudra.
So in this one, what are you? Out of these four, he'll say I'm Vaishya. Right? So everybody, we eat and put our food where? In mouth. And where it goes? Stomach. And stomach supply the energy everywhere. So you are Vaishya. So your duty to supply energy to everybody. We are brahmachari. We are a devotee. So give some dakshina, give some donation. Right? That you want good for fundraising. Anyway, other thing you were saying about, I got confused. You were saying that, in order to follow Varnashram, one had to become devotee. Unless and until one become devotee.
Connected, not devotee. Connection to Vishnu. Like giving donation is also part of that.
Yes, so he had to be connected to Vishnu in order to follow Varnashram. But in this verse, Vishnu Aradate Pantha. Vishnu Padma Purana says that in order to worship Vishnu, this is the Pantha, this is the road to approach Vishnu, Varnashram. Nanyat. No, there is no other way. Varnashram is only. So Prabhupada also towards the end of his life, if you hear his lectures, he emphasized on two things mostly. Varnashram system and scientific preaching, BI. These two things. Most of his lecture in 77, after July, if you hear, based on these two. Varnashram system and scientific preaching. So Prabhupada also acknowledged that Varnashram. And in beginning, after Prabhupada passed away, yes, there was a GBC has a big this thing, and Harikesh took up the, he wrote a book, Varnashram book, something like that. Then it became controversy of Daivi Varnashram. Varnashram never took place. But Prabhupada also gave importance. And as you said, by the way, thank you very much for, I should have told first. Wonderful class, and how you connected Ramananda Raya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that in beginning he said, tell something about Krishna, and then said about Varnashram, and then I said, Iho Bahya. And then later on, he said, Asthane Sthita, that one said, Iho Hai. So whether one is brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyasi, the goal is remember Vishnu. That is the goal. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Huh? ठीक है. वैष्णव, प्रोफेशनल वैष्णव।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
आप बता रहे थे ये जो श्लोक ब्रह्मचारी गुरुकुले वसान्दांत गुरोर्हितम,
गुरोर्हितम।
तो शास्त्र कहते हैं, प्रवचन में भी हम सुनते हैं कि ब्रह्मचारी जो है वो गुरु के हित के लिए कार्य करना चाहिए, लेकिन प्रभु जी हो जाता है बिल्कुल उल्टा।
अच्छा,
जैसे कि आपने बता रहे थे अभी कि जैसे कि आप बता रहे थे कि अथॉरिटी सिस्टम, तो अगर मान लीजिए कि कोई गुरु को ना भी सुने कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, वो कोई इंपॉर्टेंट चीज नहीं है कि गुरु जो कहे उसको सुनना ही है, लेकिन काउंसलर है या अथॉरिटी है उनको अगर नहीं सुना तो पूरा सिस्टम प्रभु जी और उसको मानना अनिवार्य हो जाता है। तो प्रभु जी इसको कैसे समझें? शास्त्र कुछ कह रहा है, अथॉरिटी कुछ कहें, काउंसलर कुछ कहें, तो इसको सामंजस्य कैसे करना है? क्योंकि अभी मैं एक बार पढ़ रहा था तो पृथु महाराज वाले प्रसंग में प्रभुपाद जी भी एक जगह लिखते हैं कि अगर कोई व्यक्ति गुरु, शुद्ध भक्त और पृथु महाराज जैसे भगवान के जो सकता है वैसा अवतार हैं, इनकी संगति का लाभ लेता है, तभी भगवान उसको मतलब केयर करते हैं। तो प्रभु जी इसको कैसे समझे, जरा इसके बारे में
आपको क्या लगता है किसको फॉलो करना चाहिए?
हाँ?
आपको क्या लगता है किसको फॉलो करना चाहिए?
फॉलो करना चाहिए प्रभु जी, अगर लेकिन गुरु को फॉलो करने जाएंगे, अगर प्रभुपाद जी कह रहे हैं, गुरु कह रहे हैं, लेकिन अथॉरिटी को नहीं करेंगे तो वहां पे आपके ऊपर एक्शन हो जाएगा, फिर क्या करेंगे? फिर क्या करेंगे?
देवकीनंद प्रभु कुछ बोल रहे हैं, उनको माइक दे दो।
शास्त्र कहता है गुरु को फॉलो करो और गुरु कहता है अथॉरिटी को फॉलो करो, किसको फॉलो करोगे?
सही बात है। तो गुरु कहते हैं कि अथॉरिटी को फॉलो करो, वो मेरे प्रतिनिधि हैं, तो गुरु के प्रतिनिधि को फॉलो करना चाहिए।
इसमें प्रभु जी एक्चुअली आपने जो बोला ना शुरू में कि विरोधाभास, वैसी चीजें हैं। आप बीच में बता रहे थे आप कि हमको दास दासानुदास,
हाँ,
लेकिन यहाँ पे बॉस का दास वाली स्थिति है प्रभु जी। दास दासानुदास हमने सुना है, पढ़ा है, बॉस का दास कहीं हमने सुना नहीं, पढ़ा नहीं, लेकिन अभी वही चल रहा है। तो इसको कैसे समझे जरा?
हाँ, देखिए अभी हमारा जो लक्ष्य है वो दास अनुदास बनना, वो हमारा लक्ष्य है। लेकिन क्या करे, बद्ध अवस्था में सब बॉस बनना चाहते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी हमारा लक्ष्य है दास बनना। और इसलिए अगर हम भक्ति का जो प्रोसेस है, हरिनाम है, उसको ठीक से जप करेंगे, कीर्तन करेंगे, श्रीमद् भागवत को ध्यान पूर्वक श्रवण करेंगे, श्रीमद् भागवत पढ़ेंगे, तो फिर जैसे धीरे धीरे शुद्धिकरण होगा तो फिर हम अच्छी तरह से दास बन सकते हैं। लेकिन तब तक कुछ समस्या हो सकती है, लेकिन फिर भी क्या है, फिर भी जो प्रभुपाद जी का जो सिस्टम है, तो प्रभुपाद जी ने सिस्टम बनाया है कि जीबीसी है, टेम्पल प्रेसिडेंट है, फिर डिपार्टमेंट हेड है, तो ये सब प्रभुपाद जी का सिस्टम है। तो पसंद हो या न हो तो सिस्टम को फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। क्योंकि क्या है, उदाहरण के लिए प्रभुपाद जी का उदाहरण है, जैसे कि जो सड़क पर पुलिस वाला होता है ना, ट्रैफिक पुलिस, तो अगर करोड़पति आता है और मान लो ठीक है, आप जा रहे सड़क पर और आपका कुछ झगड़ा हुआ है वो पुलिस वाले के साथ, हाँ उदाहरण दे रहा हूँ, तो अगर आपका कुछ झगड़ा हुआ है उसके साथ, तो फिर आप वो पुलिस वालों को फॉलो करेंगे या नहीं? या आप कहेंगे अरे बेकार है पुलिस वाला, मैं फॉलो नहीं करूंगा? चलेगा, फाइन बनना पड़ेगा, फॉलो करना पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि वो उसका वो पदवी है, फॉलो करना पड़ेगा, पसंद हो या ना हो। तो उसी प्रकार ये भी प्रभुपाद जी का सिस्टम है, पसंद हो या ना हो फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। फॉलो करेंगे, प्रभुपाद जी प्रसन्न हो जाएंगे, फिर हम भक्ति में आगे बढ़ेंगे, फिर बैक टू होम, बैक टू गॉडेज जाएंगे, तो फिर कुछ समस्या नहीं। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
नहीं, वो दास से है, लेकिन वो बॉस दास है। प्रभुपाद जी कहते हैं, इफ यू वांट टू बिकम भगवान, तो भगवान तुम हो, लेकिन भगवान दास है। तो ऐसे वो बॉस दास है, भी दास है।
सब दास ही है। कोई बॉस नहीं, सब दास है। जितना भी बड़े बॉस है, बॉस केवल एक ही है। कौन? एकले ईश्वर कृष्ण और सब भृत्य। सब भृत्य है, सब दास है, बॉस एक ही है। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। थैंक यू वेरी मच। हरे कृष्ण।